Gentlemen, welcome back to the MaxBet podcast, a podcast dedicated to gaming.
We're your hosts. I'm here with Landon Michael Jones, and I'm Mike McKiskey. Let's get started.
Let's roll. Let us know when we're ready to roll, baby. We're rocking, so welcome back.
What's up, buddy?
To the podcast. We got G2E coming up.
Ooh, we are here at the Light and Wonder Studios, just hanging out.
Yeah, and I want to mention, because we just finished the interview, we always do our intros first. No surprise, nothing, no secret there. But I want you guys to listen to this next interview with Kiran from Gaming Analytics.
Yeah.
We brought him in. I think it's super fascinating about AI and like the future of AI and what it means for our industry. So some of you only listen to our intros. Take some time and listen to this one.
Give them a whirl. Yeah, it's
It's a good
interesting.
one.
It's definitely some interesting stuff.
Where have you been? You
Dude,
back?
I'm back. I'm back in town. Yeah, it's fun, man. I went back to school for a week last
Good.
week. Yeah, I went to Philly, got to
learned?
to Wharton, trying to learn some financial things.
Just
so
name drop. Boom.
Feel smart. Is that
Wharton.
yeah,
I mean, that's
sorry.
a big one.
Weird flex. Yeah, I didn't intend to do that, I guess, but as it is, I guess I'll take it. So, but it's funny. So I always write down notes of weird things that happened to me to be like, maybe we want to talk about this. So, so I was telling, so I get to Philly and the campus is like 15 minutes from the airport. So you don't need to rent a car. You're literally at the same two buildings for a week. Like you don't have to drive anywhere. So I'm just like, what's Uber? No big deal. Uber. Get there, no Uber. Ubers are like 50 minutes away. Like they're just so busy that you couldn't get one. Even if you like bouged out and said, I'll just take the SUV black version, half an hour.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I'll get in the line for regular cab. And I'm like, this is fine. I'm not like I'm not too fancy.
Stuck at
to
old
take a
school.
Yeah. So I'm laughing.
Cool.
And so then, so I get in a cab, yellow cab, which I just think is more like a sentimental thing. And I'm laughing because here's a guy, seems like the nicest guy you could have. Couldn't understand a word he's saying. So him and I are like now having this, again, super.
That's why he doesn't know Uber exists.
Super friendly, but like interesting. Like couldn't. So he's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm going to Steinberg Center," and like it's one of those things. Apparently, most people would know, and he probably would know, but he didn't understand me. So I plug it in, and he goes, "Oh, okay." And then he asked me a bunch of questions, and I'm like, "Hey, man," and then he says, "Fast?" I go, "Yeah, fast is good." Right? Like fast seems like the kind of thing you want in a cab. So we get in, and this guy is juicing it. Like he is dangerously driving. And I'm laughing because there's a point where we're on the freeway, and I didn't see it exactly, but I think he juiced over. Like he got
He
off
asked
the
if you
freeway.
wanted to juice it.
Yeah, but so we're on the freeway, and then to get off, there's like this frontage road. He took a not road. He didn't go through pavement. He went over like the divider, just as like, I'm going to get around traffic and do it. And I was like, we're going to jail, or I'm going to be there.
This is what they do for tips now.
Dude, I tipped the hell out of him. Like, so it worked because I was like, I'm alive. So that was a good experience. And I was like, dude, you went all out. Like, you were like, tickets be damned. Cops deal with this. Like, it was like, that was the fastest, most legitimate cab ride I've had in a long time.
Dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous. And I hear him laughing. He was like smiling the whole time. He was like, very nice. Like, it couldn't be more friendly. Could understand every fifth word. But I was like,
You wonder why these cab drivers don't just get the Uber app and start driving for Uber.
Probably because they would.
And making more money?
Probably because Uber would be like, did you just jump the median? How did you get there? Like, they'd be like, look at this guy's history. He does not respect the paved road markers. But anyway, so it was good. Yeah.
Let's talk about this. I want to hear more about the school that you did.
Yeah, man.
Did they put you in like dorm rooms?
So
did you fit in the bed?
I guess kinda, and also kinda. So it was interesting. So you go in. So this is like it's an executive ed program.
Yeah.
They do that. There's a business for them, right? So they have like a hotel on site. So you go in, the room's like a Hilton, right?
Yeah,
Hilton Garden Inn or whatever.
Yeah,
Like it's like a business traveler's room. I do think the bed was like a double. So like
nice.
I'm laughing. I'm like, I'll sleep sideways. So there's another guy there that was like my same height. And he's like, you sleeping slanted? I go, oh yeah, we're going diagonal on this. And then I was laughing because my day one, right? I go in and I go down to the store, like right across the street, get a bunch of bottled water just for the room. And as I'm going back up, I meet this husband and wife. And they're wearing the same credentials. They give you these like lanyards so that security knows you're welcome there or whatever. And I go, oh, you married? They're like, yeah. I go, you're in the class together? They're like, yeah. They go, is that weird? I go, I don't know that it's weird. It's unexpected, right? Yeah. And then I'm thinking, I've been to my room, and my room's tight for like a single, but who cares? You're not in the room, so you don't need a luxury room. Yeah. But I'm going,
They're spooning to sleep.
Well, that's what I was thinking, right? Because I'm thinking like, I don't know that. I mean, we'd figure it out, and the reason we wouldn't fit would be me. But I'm like, I don't know if the wife would feel that comfortable right now.
My ass would be on the floor, dude. I gotta.
That's right. She'd be like, sorry,
don't look too comfy down there. Let me know how it goes.
Throw you an extra towel. But then I'm laughing. I'm going, I wonder if they have like a double-sized room because there's two of them.
Yeah.
Right? Assuming they both paid, right? So they should get the thing. So they did not. I made friends with them. They were great.
Oh, they got a discount.
I don't know. Yeah, but they were just like, I'm like, so the next day I go, hey, is your room? They're like,
tight?
no, same as yours. I go, yeah, got it. Yep, you knew where I was going with it. It's like we're on top of each other here. But
What was your biggest takeaway from this week?
I think, so there's a lot of little facts you can learn.
Yep.
I just think the overall approach to decision making was pretty helpful, right? So they take a pretty methodical approach, not surprising because they're kind of finance minded folks there, but that was good. Like for a guy like me, so we do these assessments here as leadership team. And so one of the things that I had like almost a 9.0 risk tolerance out of 10, which the lady's like, you're like a cowboy. Like she goes, the lady that runs it, she goes, I don't know if I've ever seen so many people with high risk tolerance. Like, well, we're a gambling company, right? Like naturally we attract the risk takers. And so for me, like I'm an intuitive decision maker and I have a high risk tolerance. So naturally I gamble. I just kind of roll the dice on
good
things.
and bad.
Yes.
Tailored down.
That's yes, exactly. And so learning the methodologies to kind of go, so my instincts telling me roll the dice and then going, well, let's just take a second and prove whether we should or shouldn't. Right. So that was kind of the biggest value to me without trying to
interesting, man.
pretend
I
teach the
think
course.
risk levels at certain levels of success, you get to a point where they don't matter. You hear Jeff Bezos, for instance. He says every company he invests in, he's like, we don't spend the time to go dig in. He's like, if I like the concept, the idea, we'll make it work.
Well, sure.
That's when you have.
But that's your different
Cash
scale.
money.
So it's funny. So one of the cases they bring you through is Microsoft. They use Microsoft as a company for like teaching you some of the basic financial stuff. And so you're laughing and he goes, so I'm looking at the thing and so the financial sheets are presented and then it says it's in millions, right? A lot of the companies we work in are probably in thousands for the most part, right? So you're sitting there going, is that in millions? You're going, so I go, they have $111 billion in cash? And he goes, yeah, no, you're reading that right. Because I'm sitting there going, I know how to read a financial statement. I'm like, but how's that? They're like, yeah. And they said Microsoft likes to have enough money in cash in case they ever want to move quick and buy stuff. And so he's like, he goes, they have
tech money.
Probably, 50 billion, probably at least more on hand than you would ever need to run the business, right? Like, so from like a management perspective, like you don't need all this cash. But they're like, but you never know. And you mentioned Bezos, but Jeff Weiner, when he was the head of LinkedIn, they bought LinkedIn, right? And he goes, they overpaid, quote unquote, overpaid by $6 billion because they wanted it. And then their model, it was worth more than they paid, but they paid over the market value so that no one else would take it. And they paid in cash
risk too.
Yeah.
Even looked like Elon just bought Twitter, right? He overpaid?
Yeah, he financed some of that. But yeah, exactly. It's okay. We're going to do this because, the theory is you overpay for what it's worth today. But because it's you, right? So if you're Bezos, right? You're the richest man in the world, head of Amazon or whatever. These guys that have unlimited influence and resource, sure. A company that you and I start is going to be worth very little. But that same company, even if they overpay us slightly, to them, they're going to take it to the moon. And so that they overpay based on what they bring. Like they value their own X factor into their models. Basically.
And then we go back to that cowboy description.
Yeah.
Look at like Kiran starting from having a concept. And you're kind of blazing the path for an industry. That's crazy.
He says he doesn't gamble, but he gambles in ways he doesn't think.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, it's funny. We talk about salespeople. Oh, you're a sales guy. Yeah. Everyone's a sales guy.
100%.
You've got to sell yourself in any organization. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
I was just telling Booth this earlier. He's like, well, I'm not really in sales. I go, yes, you are. Lesson one. Yes, you are. Right. Like it's all of it. It's your story. It's your narrative. It's what you're doing. So,
well, I'm excited to let you guys listen to this next interview with Mr. Kiran. And do you know how to pronounce his last name?
Brahmandam?
Yeah, he said it like 10 times.
I know.
You nailed it. Okay. Well, let's rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, he needs no introduction. We have Kiran, who started gaming analytics, and he's back on our show. He was here 2 years ago.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly 2 years ago. So
my favorite part this was off camera to start, but like you've seen the episode of Friends where Phoebe's trying to teach Joey French, and she's like, "Je m'appelle Claude." That's what he has to say, which is my name is Claude, and he's like, "Je m'appelle," and then action hits, and he's like, "Bra ba ba ba," and I'm like, he has just no content. That's you trying to say Kiran's last name.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
You see, just skip it, yeah. Let's do this.
I cannot believe it's been 2 years since.
Is that a fun fact? Is that true? 2 years?
Don't fact check me, but it's about 2 years.
Longer than a year, less than 5.
For
so
sure. Yeah. Right
good.
there.
Yeah, things have been great. We've had some amazing new additions to the team. So our team strength has gone up. the number of customers that we have. I think since 2 years, we probably are up. I think last time when I came here, I probably had like 15 deployments.
Sounds right. Somewhere in the teens,
Yeah. Now I have about 51 or 52.
It's a big number.
That is a big number.
And then not just having deployments, right? We actually also have a lot of happy customers. So
How do you know they're happy? Is it just that they tell you they're happy,
He has
or they
AI
don't yell at you?
program.
Oh, he's
knows.
he's perfect.
yeah,
Of
so
course.
One of the things that we try to do is, when we put out information about how the product is doing, whenever you sign a deal, you do a press release. I mean,
Yep.
and I feel like, you can pretty much get any quote you want when you do a press release upon
Right.
signing.
Everyone's happy on the press release
everyone.
day. Yeah.
So do they actually have the same emotion, the same excitement about the product 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road? And then when you actually look at the case studies that we publish, and there's many on our website, you can go to our website and there's a section called case studies. Those are all the studies on the benefits and the customer's experiences with us after being our customer for 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, right?
Yep.
So when you see those case studies and when you see their comments, when they talk about, how great of a customer service
Sure.
that we provide and how responsive we are, and they're saying it after 1 year, after 2 years, right? So we haven't, whatever we promised, it's not
You
like
actually
we
brought it to
diluted
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you know? Okay, so if I'm backtracking a second, it sounds like phase one for you guys when you're building, you said we're the Google of casinos, meaning which was what we loved about it, because you could just type in what's my slot performance, or hey Google, what's this, and you could talk to it, right? But that, it sounds like, was mostly just finding data from multiple sources and showing you a picture.
Yep.
I'm guessing a lot of these initial customers, they bought it for that, right? They're like, that's actually pretty valuable in and of itself. But now, a year or two later, you're saying we're doing more, I don't know, is it recommendations? Is it like targeted? Like now we're actually thinking on your behalf and giving you actionable intel. Is that right?
So we always had recommendations, from day one. But if I look at the journey of the customer and a journey of our product, initially it was, like Google for gaming, so it's time savings.
Okay.
So the idea was once you create time for the users, then they'll start thinking more about the strategic initiatives, especially at the executive level and so on. And then that gives them an opportunity to understand the value of some of the other aspects of technology that we have, all these recommendations, insights and all. So we evolved by creating that time to our customers 2 years ago. Now, many of the customers actually implement a lot of our AI models in their day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
So now we got into operational efficiencies, optimizing floor layouts, improving customer retention, cutting down your marketing expenses while increasing profits. So now we got into the core of how they run their business and where they can leverage AI to actually do it better while keeping the still Google for gaming. They still can get all that information on the fly and all of that, right? So it's a transition, and you have to go through that phase because inherently, people don't trust that a piece of software can make better decisions than a human.
Than they can.
Yeah, right? So we were able to actually consistently build the trust with each and every one of our models that we deployed. And now we have reached to a stage where they are much more confident in our ability to deliver new value. And they're also actually much more confident doing things differently. Right?
Yeah, interesting.
So for example, I'll give you, I've got many examples, but and again, each customer, they're in a different stage of evolution.
Sure,
So, right? What's important for customer A is not a big deal for customer B. But one example is, so we have a customer in Florida, and they're like, hey, we don't want to actually change our database marketing or segmentation, but we want to see if we're actually targeting the offers to the right set of players and if we are actually over-investing. So for that customer, we enhanced our product to say, how do I cut down your expenses effectively? Which players do you fire and which players do you hire? For lack of a better term. Not necessarily you're firing them, just cutting down their offers, right? And then they have seen for the last 4 months almost like $200,000 a month of free play savings while their revenue is going up, right? So that's a very interesting. And last year they would not have actually, tried that.
Interesting.
Right?
So now they trust your system enough or your process enough to go, we're going to at least take a shot at leaning into this a little. Yeah.
And then there was another customer in Washington, and their goal was, I don't think the way we segment our players is correct. Can we leverage AI to do dynamic segmentation? Right?
Yeah.
So we have done that for those guys. And then they actually saw their TO and then their actual visits go up. And then last month they said, is there a way I can actually squeeze out 15% efficiencies in my expenses, still retaining, my top line and bottom line, right? And we have seen once we implemented that and deployed it, their expenses are gone down by 18%, but the TO is up by 4%. So there is, I guess my point is, there is a lot of opportunities for efficiencies and increasing retention rates if you start looking at the problem differently and if you have a slightly open mind to experiment, right? And I see more of our customers are now willing to experiment because we were able to actually be there with them along the journey and then, establish that confidence and trust in the product and the technology.
Yeah, so if I heard you right, you're saying in some of these scenarios, you can kind of run like these what if, or I'm trying to think what it is in Excel where they have like this data seek or like this solve, where in Excel you can basically go, I need this cell to be 100 and I need you to only change this cell to get it there, right? Like, so another cell. So you're basically saying, the customer's saying, hey, I want to at least maintain my revenues, but I want to squeeze free play maybe, see how far we can take it. So what's a scenario where maybe I lower free play? You say expense, I assume free play is a big one,
exactly,
direct mail, whatever it might be. And then your system kind of going, oh, okay. So if you took down direct mail and free play by this, maybe you juice a little social, whatever the recommendation is, you're actually going to come out ahead.
Yeah, and we're actually we're looking at on a per player basis, right? So the key is not just, putting all these players into a big bucket, right? So we're actually looking at a per player basis and figuring out, which players really care about free play and which players don't. Which players you would want to incentivize them to get a couple more offers a month versus which players you cut off.
Yep.
So it's becoming more and more personalized. And so it's being able to do it at scale. Like if you think about it, other industries, they do it at scale. Like for example, your YouTube feed, I guess, for me, it's a YouTube Shorts. Maybe for you, it's TikTok.
I don't know what that says about you, buddy. Yeah.
It says I'm with it.
So, I mean, there's a reason why, I wake up every day at 5 o'clock and I'm like, I'm going to exercise today, right?
Yep.
But then the biggest mistake I do is I open up my YouTube and then I just keep on scrolling this YouTube Shorts.
There goes the exercise.
But the point is, it's keeping it's keeping me engaged, and those industries are able to do it for billions of people. Right? So we are bringing it, not at the same scale to this industry, and we're actually seeing that there are efficiencies without compromising the player experience. Right?
That's it. Okay, so I have so many questions. I want to back it up real quick as the customer. If I'm a customer and I'm going to add gaming analytics to my floor, so you have these custom kind of one-offs where customers come to you, they want you to build this, version of your system to kind of work with their system. Is that an additional cost if I'm the customer?
I got it. So first of all, we don't do these one-offs, right?
Yep.
We are not a services company. We're a product company.
Yep.
So they come and buy the product, right? And they pay us a fee, monthly, yearly, whatever. They're committed to us, for a few years of contract. But then what we do is instantly they see efficiencies, time savings. For example, if you're in the casinos on the slot side, our software on day one spits out all the recommendations by connecting slot data with player data. So there are a lot of things that they do today.
Yep.
We help them do it faster and more efficient. Then they come up with a new business problem, right? And when they come up with a new business problem, we normally don't charge them money. We solve that problem for them, but then we make that as our base version for the next customer to sell, right? So what happens is, as we keep on, solving these problems, our product and the value of our product goes up. So the future customers, we actually generate more revenue because they also see more value. Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we kind of built the company is, we're not going to nickel and dime the current customers.
Yep.
We solve their problems and the next customer will pay more and they'll have their set of unique problems.
Yeah.
But when I say unique, about 70-80% of the problems whoever comes up with, even though they think they're unique, it's applicable to most of the casinos.
Yeah.
So that's how we were able to actually build our business in a pretty good way, right?
Yeah.
While not compromising on our customer, satisfaction scores and things like that.
So now we can bring it back to the YouTube thing, because this is a question.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a hard question here, because you look at kind of like AI and what TikTok has done, right? They found out the perfect time, the model, like to engage people. So you get a 14-year-old that starts looking at TikTok 5 hours later, he didn't even know. He just wasted 5 hours of time, right?
Yeah.
AI is powerful. And there's a lot of things going on right now in the news and the media about responsibility of these AI programs becoming too intelligent and kind of taking over, right? And so when we look at that in a business like gaming, when does it, like, what's the line, right? Like, of responsibility, because you
Is
start...
the Will Smith question? How far away from we from
Yeah, but
iRobot?
you think about it, right? Like gaming, once AI kind of like learns a predictive model for why customers get that dopamine effect, that dopamine hit, and then like we can take the data and it'll help us create better games.
I
But
see.
like, where is the line?
So you're
for
saying
AI?
at some point the games will be too powerful.
Correct.
Because AI has made them so they are flawless. In
Yeah,
terms of
I mean, we
human
should talk
psychology.
about it, right?
Why
To
not?
give back. So
Okay, so there are a few things to think about here, right? So one is, even though technology can keep you captivated
Yeah.
and engaged for hours, the responsibility relies on the humans to define boundaries.
yeah,
So, for example, what's the job of Facebook or TikTok? Just get more clicks, right?
Right.
Yeah, engagement. Yep.
Engagement. What's the job of Netflix? It just make you
Yeah.
watch more movies. But at the same time, they also say, I want more engagement from Kiran, right, or from Landon,
Yeah.
but not by showing content that should not be displayed. Like, I don't want to display porn. I don't want to display
yeah.
terroristic,
Sure.
I don't want to tell you how to build a bomb,
Right,
things
right,
like that,
right.
right? So there are boundaries
Right.
that humans have to take upon themselves to define and make sure that the AI engine operates within those boundaries. Right?
interesting.
So when it comes to, and that's where you talk about the rest of the world is going crazy with how far, especially with ChatGPT and
Yeah,
all
right.
this stuff, right? But good or bad, we are probably a generation of tech. I don't mean by generation of people, but a generation of technology, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Behind in our industry, right?
Yeah.
So we get to learn from what kind of boundaries you have to draw. So, for example, even when we run our models, like for example, it says, "Hey, I want to make sure that I only want X% decrease in my expenses. I don't want to impact the player experience too much,
Right.
even though I can squeeze, because at some point." You don't want to lose the entertainment factor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So whoever defines those boundaries well, and in the future also, I feel technology will evolve so much that it all depends on when organizations want to run business, how do they draw their boundaries? How do they make their money, right?
Yeah.
What ethical boundaries they're willing to
Yeah.
cross and not cross. And that's on us, right? And that's how I would look at this problem.
Well, I think most of the industry knows that like protecting the player
Yeah.
is important to the longevity of their business.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
And so like having these early conversations about what that means in the future, and it almost helps that we're 10 years behind because we get to learn and we
Exactly.
get to kind of critique and cater to those.
Yeah, it's like the rest of the world has not solved the problem of the social dilemma, right?
Yeah.
So where we effectively live in two different worlds.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what you think is real news and what I think is real
Perception.
news, both of us honestly think what we see is is real.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we
Yeah.
haven't solved the social dilemma problem. Now we are getting the AI dilemma. But and I also see more and more. Discussions in our industry about responsible gaming a lot more
Right.
than what I've heard last year or the year before. I think recently, is it BetMGM or somebody cut
Yeah.
a deal with responsible gaming companies. So this,
Oh, yeah.
there's so we do have to define boundaries.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, okay, so ethical boundaries aside, I guess, how do you then account for some of the... So there is a value of the human element, right? And so you say, because I was in school last week learning about, different decision-making models, and there's a world where you'd say, well, financially or technically, if a project, theoretically has a positive value, you should invest in it, right? That's just kind of the summary. But they go, but if you said I can invest $1 million today to get back $1.1 million at the end of the project, you go, probably not worth it. Even though technically it's more, there's a line, right? So to your point, you say, well, if you just bought 2,000 new slot machines, you do a lot better, right? And somebody's probably going, why can't that doesn't actually work for me. Like, how do you rein in the recommendation so that it's kind of within what I'll just call the realm of reality versus just saying, yeah, technically you might be right, but I also don't have $60 million to go redo the whole thing.
Well, what we have seen is you don't need to buy more machines
Well,
to
that's
make
good.
more money.
Yeah,
You
probably.
actually need less machines, and actually having the right set of machines And by the way, since you brought it up, I got to throw in
Yeah.
an example, right? So most casinos, now with the amount of data that we have, so we have noticed that a lot of the casinos have an imbalance, a volatility imbalance, right? Meaning the kind of games that you have, some are high risk games, some are low risk games, right? And the kind of players, right, that you have. There's a mismatch between what the players would like to play, not necessarily the title, the volatility part, versus what you actually have on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And then with our staff, we are able to actually bridge that gap and make sure that the right games are placed in the right location. And we've got some, you should check out our case studies about how. But the point is, so there are ways to actually, figure that out, right? Now, in terms of, how do I create the value? So a lot of it actually happens in the modeling scenario. So when somebody says, Kiran, can I really cut my expenses by 15%, right? So then what my guys will do is, my data scientists, they run a modeling, thousands of simulations, right? Given the kind of players that they have, right? And see what that particular simulation is going to produce and what is the confidence, right, with which we can say this is going to impact the player experience or not. There's always, at the end of the day, right, you're always making a prediction and the prediction could go wrong. But the idea is how confident you are about the prediction, right? And then we present those findings to the customers and say, maybe you shouldn't tweak this much. Maybe you want to just kind of, phase it out a little bit.
Sure.
So,
It's interesting with like occupancy and space. Like those are your two biggest hurdles, right? Because say you have, I don't even know what we should do, Huff and Puffs.
Okay.
You've got 40 Huff and Puffs on your floor.
Yeah.
And then when you're at peak occupancy or 95% occupancy, those Huff and Puffs are going to be being
we
played.
need 20 more.
We need 50 more.
Yeah.
But then on the weekdays, you might have 20 too many Huff and Puffs, right?
Tuesday at
And
lunch, exactly.
And you need to keep the other games to keep like a good balance of variety on your floor. But the problem always comes when you're at your occupancy peak. I mean, you know way more about this, so it's just an interesting problem to have.
In an ideal world, right, which we are not in this world, it would be great to dynamically have the operator to say, I need 40 Huff and Puffs over the weekend. I only need 20 during the weekdays. And then I'm going to actually swap my other 20 with some other games that make sense, right?
Server-based games.
Yeah, that's exactly where my head was
back to
going.
Which was the story
2007.
from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But it does not align with the business models we have in the industry, because the business model is sell cabinets, right? On the slot side.
No. Yeah, you're not wrong, I guess.
So, but at the same time, you keep on swapping these things. Now all the cabinets have to look the same, right? So then where is the fun? Where is the experience? So these things, are valid questions, but I don't know if it conforms to how the casinos, how the player experiences, and how the business models in these industries are. So.
Well, when you're playing at home on your computer, when
Online does not have the problem.
What are you guys doing with online? Are you guys helping in any of the online space or
Not yet, man. That is one area, because if you think about it, an online lobby, there's a good similarity to the slot floor. Like for example, in a slot floor, you got a slot machine, you got a game title, you got a payback percentages, you got the minimum bets, etc.
Yep.
Same thing on an online world. It's just that there's no physical asset.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we feel our technology will transition very well to the online side, but unfortunately, until this point, we haven't gotten that opportunity to work on it. And the way we also try to, go into other aspects of the business is, if one of our customers have a land-based and online, then we would want to work with them to bridge the gap, right?
Yeah, right.
We ourselves, like a lot of, because our customers, kind of help us which direction we need to go. And I've got customers in California. It's not legal there. Washington, but there's a little bit of problem with accessing the online data. But we've signed, a few more deals recently, which I think we will get that opportunity to bridge that gap.
You want to name drop any of those? Just
let's talk about
flex
it.
for a second, man. You have 52 customers. Let's brag on you for a second.
No, this is not in reference to the the omni-channel play. But so one of our proudest moments recently has been being able to actually get a deal done with Stations Casino. Station
Yeah.
Casino.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
That's a
Right.
big,
It's a big win.
group.
Yeah.
So, and they're a data focused group too. So
It was
it's impressive.
it was very interesting. I presented to them 4 years ago. when we were, in our infancy, right?
Long sales cycle.
Yeah, right. And rightfully so, they really liked our vision as to where we want to go, but we were not ready for a big organization like that. And then we've evolved a lot in the last 4 years, and then they just randomly stopped by at our booth at G2E last year. I'm like, what station? Because this is at our booth. It was crazy, right? And then we showed them the product, and they were very impressed with how far we have come.
Yeah.
And then we went and presented to all of their executive team, and then we had a couple more demos on the marketing side and the player development side. And the best part was, I remember we finished the demo, so I was at Red Rock having my lunch, and then I get a call in 15 minutes saying, hey, send us the contract. And I'm like, sorry, what are you saying? We just did the demo. And there was a jackpot or something happened on the casino floor. There was so much loud noise. I'm like, what are you saying? Am I hearing this right?
You need my contact?
Meanwhile, the guys on the other side like, I don't know if he wants to do it. I don't know.
Are you
what's
saying
happening?
we actually won the deal? I'm like, yeah, dude, you can just send the contract.
So much for play it cool.
We almost cried, man. It was like we could not believe it. Me,
That's awesome.
Josh, and Ashley, we were there. We were just jumping. We were shouting and screaming on the casino floor.
What's like a problem that you're trying to solve now that you still haven't gotten over the line? Like, what's one of your biggest problems to solve?
Oh my God. Okay. This is what I think the end goal for the company is, right? This is the reason why I quit my good job
Used to work here. Yeah.
Bally.
Back in previous name.
Yeah. So I want to get to a stage where, forget about all this segmentation, campaigns, reports, all this. It's all needed today.
Yeah.
Right? I want to get to a stage where can we take technology to a level where the customer says, can I get an extra 3% coin in on a Tuesday? Right? That's a business problem, a business question.
Yeah.
And then our software will say, okay, is that what you want? Runs a bunch of modeling and say, here are the 3 recipes, promotions you should try. And here are the people you need to serve these recipes to. Right?
Yeah.
And then the operator can tweak the recipes, then they push a button and the whole thing magically happens. Meaning offers are created, dumped into the source system, put into kiosks, wherever they need to go. Emails are sent, text messages are sent.
Social media posts are built.
And the way the emails and text messages will be also sent is so personalized, meaning you're going to get a text message at 4 o'clock on a Friday. You're going to get an email on Saturday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to get a direct mail on a Tuesday. Yeah. So the software will do all of that with a push of a button. So to me, that is the dream. And that is where I think the industry can go to, right? Because the leap in technology over the last 2-3 years has been incredible, right? There's a reason why they say AI is the new electricity. And when you think about it, it sounds like a buzzword, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when if you go back, whenever electricity was, invented,
it's before my
discovered,
time.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
The applications, nobody has thought about, the applications of electricity other than lighting a bulb at that time, right? Imagine if just there's no electricity, the whole world shuts down, right? So many applications were created out of that electricity, right? Similarly, now I feel like we are at that stage when we say AI is, the new electricity, there are so many profound applications and impacts that it can have on businesses, on people, and so on and so forth.
You're getting into like quantum physics stuff.
So I feel like it's not... when I started the company, that example that I've given you is what the end game is. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to take 10 years or 15 years, but that's my dream, right?
Yeah.
But now I feel like if we find a willing partner, we could actually get there in the next 12 months. It's not a far, fetched idea anymore, right?
That's crazy.
So, and by the way, other industries are already doing this.
Yeah.
So, you guys, have you built any mobile apps before?
I used to work with Aaron building
not
mobile apps,
that.
but not like personally
you're on
built.
B2C.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example, right? So let's say
We've dabbled.
I did a B2C startup before Gaming Analytics. I thought I could take on Facebook, right?
That's like just taking on YouTube.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
HBO. Yeah, it didn't work.
So,
They
smacked right in the face.
there's some value to being, ignorant. Right?
Yeah.
So,
That's right. It's bliss. It really is, yeah.
So, but what happens there is, let's say you build a app, you go to Facebook and say, I need 5,000 downloads. Okay?
Yeah.
I need it in the next 30 days. Then Facebook says, it's going to cost you $12,000. And you pay the money, you will get your downloads. Period. Right? There's no question about it. You do a LinkedIn ad, and you say, I want this ad to be maximized for engagement. It says, what are your audience? And it'll tell you, here is how much it's going to cost, and here is how many views you're going to get. And you pay the money, it will happen, right? Plus or minus a very small percentage. So from there, it's not actually a big leap to say, can a casino operator define goals, and the software executes it? Right?
Yeah.
So that is basically what my vision was when I started gaming analytics. But you can get there in one day, right? Because how do you make people trust AI?
Sure.
Right? So we've spent time building the trust. Building the model is difficult, but it doesn't take 2 years to build a model.
Sure.
It's actually creating a culture of trust with the operators on your technology is what takes time.
Yeah,
right?
conditioning the operator.
Yeah, so now we have seen all these incremental stages where we are able to create that value. And I don't think that day is too far when the operator says, let's go try it. Right?
There have been so many operators that I've talked to that said, data's great. And you have all these different data companies out there giving us all this data. And that's great. But what am I going to do with it?
If operators have so many things on their mind, they don't have the time. They don't have the time to think strategically.
Right.
So creating time solves a lot of these other problems.
Right.
Yeah.
It also solves this problem of resistance.
Yeah.
Because now, hey, you got a day back. So what do you want to do? Now start looking at some of the things that tools can offer. Right. So that's we had that philosophy, and it kind of seems to be working. Right. And hopefully the day will come soon where. Can I get an extra 3% coin in, and boom,
The
it
easy
happens.
button.
There you go. See,
Sounds like the
Tuesday,
easy
bang.
button.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That was easy. Made more money. Then every day I'd just be like, I get 3% more. And then how about more? How about more? Well, what point does this thing stop?
At some point, the software will probably say, dude, stop being greedy.
It'll flash up a picture going, no, you can't have it today.
Stop being greedy. Right?
You've broken. Yeah, you're gone. All right, so this might be the stupid question, but AI model, you said it many times. I think generally we know it's a thinking program. How do you start an AI? Like if somebody's out there going, I download ChatGPT, it has its own model in the background somehow, you've built the model, like how would you explain, like what's an AI model to dummies? I guess,
it depends
or to
on,
me, in this case. Yeah.
So it depends, right? So with whole this OpenAI and ChatGPT, it actually took a completely different, leap. So before OpenAI or ChatGPT, most of the AI models were answering questions like, is Landon going to come back to my casino? Yes or no? Did he have a good experience at our restaurant? Right. So it's actually answering very specific questions. Right?
But how does it know how to answer?
I'll explain. Yeah. So we have to go back a little bit, right? So that's what the models were, right? But with the new one, so I call it like curation, right? So all the old models. The new one, like ChatGPT, it's creation. So let me explain how the old world worked, right? So for example, let's say I want to figure out if Landon is going to come back to the casino or not. Or let me take another example. What is the future value of Landon?
Sure.
Okay. So the way the models would work is I give you a credit card example. Okay. So let's say you applied for a credit card, right? And then the credit card company has to decide how much credit limit should I give you?
Yeah.
So how does it make the decision? Like when I came to the US in the 97, I actually had to fill out a form and mail it, and then I would get a credit card application decision after 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Now you can just click a button.
Yeah.
So what happens there behind the scenes is it looks at you.
Yeah.
It says you got all of the credit history information, how much money you make, how many jobs do you have, how long have you stayed, how much debt do you have you been late on your payments, right? So it builds a persona, a profile for you. So think of it like it's giving you a score. Right?
Yeah, right.
A persona.
Yeah.
And then the software goes and looks at, show me all my current customers who fit this persona. Okay? So it's doing a similarity. And then it says, all those current customers that fit the profile of Landon, are they good customers for me? Right? Because you have the data, their behavioral data, and say, okay, I could give him a $10,000 credit limit because I can see a future value of XYZ dollars. That's how these models work, right? So I gave you a credit card example because you guys all
It makes sense. Super familiar. Yeah.
The only thing that's changing when I'm predicting what's the value of you, Landon, for a casino is the so-called features. Your age, your zip code, whatever the credit card company uses, those things just change. I still look at, your demographic information, maybe not your salary and all of that, because the casinos don't have it. Your gender, maybe your zip code, what games do you play, how often do you come, how much expenses did I incur on you, how long do you play, intervisit. So it takes all of these things and then builds a persona and says, find me all the players that have similar personas at the same stage of their life cycle. Meaning, let's say I registered like 5 days ago. It goes and looks at all the players and their patterns for the first 5 days, and then looks at my 5-day play, builds a profile and compares with that and say, this is where those players ended up.
Yeah, got it. Wow.
So that's basically, in a nutshell, how a lot of the AI models.
Yeah.
Right?
That's crazy.
But that's what you're calling closed AI. That's like
I'm not saying closed
old school or whatever you want to call it.
So now, for example, you guys have used ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So before, in ChatGPT, it's a newer set of models where they're actually creating open-ended creative content. And the content could be text, it could be images, it could be videos, right? So before, I had to, you could not tell an algorithm to create a new image. You could ask the algorithm, is this a water bottle? And it'll tell you yes or no, right? Now you can tell these new models, give me a new piece of audio that combines Snoop Dogg's music with,
Yeah, that's what you were saying. We talked about that.
So the current, the legacy, the old way of doing, I shouldn't say old, but the traditional models are purpose-built, right? Whereas this is very generic in it actually does it for you. So it's creating something that did not exist. Whereas the old ones were only predicting what would happen based on the information that they've already seen, right? So it's a different leap of technology evolution, right? And the beauty of these, people call it AGI, LLMs, or ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever. Right? And the beauty is they've actually. So I just want to share you how it works, right? So what they're doing is all these language models are just basically you give it a word, it is predicting the next word. Okay.
That's like your autocomplete. Like I'm writing an email and it says, thank you for connecting. Or whatever. Yeah.
So it's predicting the next word, and then it's predicting the next word. It's predicting the next word. And then it's now able to predict next paragraphs, right? So same thing, if it's processing an image, it's doing the same thing. So everything it has converted into a universal language, right? Whether it is text processing or audio processing or video processing, it has converted into a language that is very generic in nature, only the software can understand. And before, the same task was done by different models, right? And the way it's forming these associations, and by the way, they're training with like $1 billion computer systems to actually train these algorithms, right? And if I want to simplify it, think of it like, you got kids, and then they start slowly speaking, right? And the way they form connections between words is what you say to the kids and what they hear, right? So some of it you're teaching them. Some they're just listening. And then they're forming these weird associations between words, right? And then what happens is they start speaking, they start listening to more and more people. And they probably also listen to things that they shouldn't listen.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you keep the taint, tainted out of there?
So they made all these connections. But then we come in as humans and as parents and say, you cannot say these F word at least until 18 years old, So
put that in your mailer.
So there is this initial teaching, then there is this unsupervised learning that happens because they're observing all of these people talking. And then we come in and then we are reinforcing what our belief systems
are. The boundaries and whatnot,
And now they build their vocabulary, their language, right? But we still don't know how those connections are made in the brain, but we have reinforced, what they should have. So think of it, doing it for like billions of people. That's how this software is actually taking all of this data and making these associations and being able to actually create content that didn't exist before. So that's kind of a similarity between.
They're taking that same concept, and I don't mean to cut you, but it's interesting. Like we were talking about, it finishes your words, right? The other day, I'm talking to my wife, and I'm just talking about my dog needing a haircut. We're just having a conversation in our kitchen. My dog needs a haircut. I get in my car to go to the store. I plug my phone in, and what pops up on my navigation?
10 minutes to haircut place.
To doggy spa, where we get his haircut. And I go, are you kidding me? Like it thought that I was taking
too much.
Too much.
That's a little too much.
A little too much. It's thinking of what my next step will be, not only my words, but
Yeah.
what my next action is going to be.
In fact, there was actually a professor at one of these conferences that talked about we basically have no privacy, right?
Yeah.
Whether we believe it or not.
That much is clear.
Yeah. So it seems you cannot basically settings out of your phone to become private. So it seems this technology. Let's say you go and say, I'm going to disable Siri or whatever,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to put all this privacy stuff. Then what happens is even as we are speaking, there's vibrations, right? So there is this gyroscope on your phone.
Yep.
They can actually listen to the vibrations and reverse engineer what you spoke.
I'm out of here.
No, this was a university professor from
Ryan, you got a
Maryland.
hammer over there? We need to smash these
I
phones.
was listening to her speech, and it was fascinating, right? And you may want to say, I'm going to disable my Wi-Fi and all
Yeah.
of that, right? But Google, it just goes and you see these cars taking pictures
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
So when
They're right here. They're like right around
when
the
those cars are going, they're not just taking the pictures of the street. They're also scanning all the Wi-Fi signals, right? So now they pretty much know where every single Wi-Fi signal in the world is. The moment you connect to a particular Wi-Fi, even though you've you turned off all the settings,
They know where we are.
they know where you are.
I don't know how to feel about it.
But that's it. You seem to enjoy all of that. In your personal life.
I
Depends.
love all this. I'm still sitting on the fact where AI is electricity and what we do with it.
100%. I
in
mean,
the future.
what I heard him say is like AI today is like a 3-year-old child. It's doing some cool stuff. It's got some words that we're all going, great job with the words. And we have no idea what teenager AI is going to look like.
Yeah,
Like it's going to be
that's a
a
great way to
complete,
put it. Yeah.
complete
We're going to live
mystery.
in a different realm, like a metaverse. We started talking about like virtual
Jetsons
reality
and whatever.
and
Yeah.
all this data that Facebook's collecting for whatever reason.
Why'd you
right?
put Facebook in quotes?
I don't know. I wanted
Okay.
to.
I was
Yeah.
like, it's
Felt
not
right.
really
Felt
Facebook.
right. Felt right. But you walk into this world that's completely created for you. So your perception of what the world is, AI has already figured that out.
That's the worst
I can
part.
go watch a game. I can go say there's an actual game happening, a football game, NFL game. I walk across the street in my virtual world. I can buy tickets.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the virtual game. Then I go across the street to the casino. They know all my favorite games, and it's catered to me.
Yeah.
What?
I think with social and all that, the giving you the opinion with the facts is the biggest problem. Because like I can't say, so I don't follow people politically on, I guess it's now called X. I follow mostly sports people, right? And so what I notice on X is if there's the following tab, which is only people I follow. So I'll get stuff no one cares about. Rebel football updates, Golden Knights hockey, all the stuff I actually came for.
Yeah.
Then I tab over to For You, which means it's the Wild West of what they think I want to know. And I get the most extreme political views on both sides because they can't pin me to a party or not. So they're like, here's why AOC is great. Oh, next one. Here's why she's horrible. Here's why Trump's great. Here's why he's horrible. And it's like, oh my God, like, I don't want any of this. Like, just give me back to my stupid college football feed. But it's like, what are they doing? And the problem is it's never just, here's what a guy did, make your own opinion. It's, here's why that guy is either a savior or a villain based on our take of his action. And that to me is where the AI, I'm like, yeah, you just stop telling me what to think. Man. Just, I'll get to my doggy day spa by myself.
See,
I'll form my opinions on my own.
The implications of AI in the consumer world and the implications of AI in the business world are different.
For sure.
Right?
Completely.
So in the consumer world, it has taken off. It's good or bad. I think a lot of the bad things that are happening, polarization, et cetera, is because of the unintended consequences, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at the business world, the enterprise world, it has not been embraced as much as you think it is, right? Generally speaking, in most verticals. And B2B industries are like, big companies, it's not like you have millions of customers to sell your product to.
Yeah.
So that's where I think you can think about if doing a job better, faster, efficient, cutting down wastage, right? And then figuring out how do you use this technology to make sure that we provide a different kind of experience, right?
Yeah.
That is a huge untapped market before the same problems we have on the consumer side roll over into the business side. That's what I think it is.
But it comes down to personal responsibility, and that's like but how can you be personally responsible when they're listening and they're literally directing my life?
I mean, yeah, it's, well, here's the thing. If that's true, like they should never not solve crimes. Right? I mean, think about how hard it must be. Not even like violent crimes. Just saying like, oh, we're here talking about, hey, I'm not paying for Red Bull at the gas station today.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, now they may not care to pursue that, but it's like, well, they know you and I did it because we're sitting here talking about it on our vibrating, whatever. and that guy down the road's reporting 2 less Red Bulls in inventory. And it's like, that's like, what was that Minority Report with Tom Cruise? Like, that's where we're going, right? They just know all the data and here we go.
It changes the whole term. I have a good vibe going on. They're listening.
It's like, put the phone at home and maybe you'll have a good vibe. Just hang out in the sun for a minute.
I feel bad because we kind of robbed your entire interview here about your company of what you're doing, but I feel like
Did we not talk about it?
Yeah, we've kind of got sidetracked in a little bit, but I think it's all important, right? And what you're doing is solving a lot of problems, and we're kind of at the infancy of it. We kind of know where you want to go with the button, which is incredible.
Here's what I heard from Kiran. If I'm going to summarize the value. AI is hard. He knows what he's doing. So call him.
Check.
2, what I heard if you were listening, that it's better to be his customer today because he doesn't start to charge you more unless you wait, right?
Yeah.
So the sooner you're in, the better. What else? And everyone's doing it. So you should, if you're a casino that's not doing it, you're behind. Because here's the thing, like what I'm hearing,
true.
because, look, like we could pretend you don't have competitors, but we don't have to name them, but they're out there. And so it's like, between you and, I don't know, let's call it your top 2 competitors, it's probably a vast majority of certainly the top tier casinos engaged here. So if you're a mid-tier or lower tier casino trying to compete, like you're going to be dead in the water soon. Because your guy down the road that is embracing AI is going, oh, guess what? I'm going to get your player for 15% less investment and they're going to spend more with me because I got some sort of calculus. Right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Maybe I'm hearing it wrong.
Here's my question, and this is probably, when do you get to take the data that comes from like an SDS system or an Aristocrat system or Konami system? What happens if they start doing the AI program?
Sure. Let them do it.
Yeah,
So,
yes, I love this answer.
No, because, at the end of the day, right, this is the natural direction that everybody should go.
Yeah.
Right. And will go.
Yeah,
right?
sure. We'll go.
Yeah. And that's just the way it is with any business, right? And then once you think about it, and let's say everybody does it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just like to run a business. Like, why do you have 15 different game manufacturers?
Right.
Why
100%.
isn't? Yeah. It just boils down to the same thing, right? It's having the technology, but still taking care of your customers.
Yeah.
Providing good customer support, right?
Right.
In fact, excellent customer support, and ensuring that you stay humble and keep innovating, and that's what will differentiate or keep any company.
Well, you're also
going,
learning
right?
on the fly. I mean, you guys are learning all the things that need to be implemented into back-end systems.
Yeah. And we think, like the fact that we've spent, when we started the company, even the search engine is actually AI behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
So the platform has been an AI platform from day one.
Yeah.
And then we put in the hard miles to actually gain the trust of our operators, right? Others will also do it.
Yeah.
But, there's always, a little bit of
Relationships will
advantage.
still matter, I think, over time, right? I still think that's going to matter.
That's
Like,
100%.
so
I can't wait to see where he is in 2 years. Like, I mean, the amount...
Button.
The button, yeah.
the button push.
The button push. That's where I want to be in 2 years.
I do have one question for you. So then you mentioned earlier, which I thought was interesting. You're like, we're looking at this player by player. Mm-hmm. So you're not just saying in the aggregate. You're saying, how can I plus or minus Landon, plus or minus Mike, right? So you say, okay, is there any world where you're worried that we find out? Meaning, because what I heard you say, and maybe I'm wrong, if we both spend $500 a trip, I'm just making that up. I don't know if that makes us good or bad players. But he cares about free play and I don't. What I heard you say is actually, if you give Landon basically my free play, you say, Mike, just take Mike's free play. Right?
It's not your free play.
Well, it's not mine. So let's say it this way.
It's not an entitlement.
Give him,
soup for you.
No, but here's my understanding. Historically, what they may have done is they say, you guys are in a similar tier. Everyone in that tier is getting $25. So in their mind, they've given me $25 and him $25, the next guy or girl $25. So they assigned it out as a blanket. You're saying, actually, he cares a lot more about it. You don't have to give it to me. So he gets 50 and I get 0.
Yeah, but you may care about something else.
You got it.
Right?
We got to take that 25 to take care of you.
So we will, the software will recommend maybe you like to go to a spa.
Okay.
So at the end of the day,
quick pedicure before the day's
the
activities.
casinos are incurring that expense, right? It's how do
Got
you
it.
do it more efficiently and more personalized.
I understand.
Right?
Okay.
It's not trying to rob from the players. It's just making sure that you're spending the right dollars on the right player on the right channel at the right time.
Got it. So it's basically saying if you're going to invest $25 in me, what's the best way to do it? And it may not be free play.
Yeah.
It may be some other goods or service that you have offered. Okay, got
Or
it.
there may be some players who say, you know what, don't bother me. I just come, I sit in I play,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
fun, and I just go. So those are the people that
You
you
want
can,
those guys across the board because that'll cost you. Yeah.
and you don't want to bother them with offers
Yeah,
that they
sure.
don't care about.
Yeah.
So those are like, don't disturb
Yeah.
me.
Just leave me alone.
So,
I'll be here.
It's
Yeah.
being able to identify those classifications and doing at scale is where technology can help. Right. So,
Love it.
When do you think we get to 100% card in play where 100% of people are being...
Until the government makes you have to do it, I don't think you do.
Well, it's like happening in some of the
Yeah,
different jurisdictions.
pockets of the world. Yeah, I get it. I mean,
like in Mexico.
What
South
percentage are
Africa.
we
there's
at?
some interesting stuff in Australia coming too.
I mean, I don't know. I say I'm not aware of. Is there any U.S. jurisdiction that?
Yeah,
that
say
in-
North America. Like, do we have a card in?
Oh, the estimates? Yeah,
Kind
but
of
there's no
average.
policy.
Oh,
But
yeah. I don't think there's a policy that says you must have a card to play.
No, right. I get that, but like, what percentage of players are using cards? Do we have like a?
I got
probably
it.
know,
At least from my side, right? So it depends from locals to
Right.
like the strip casino is
different.
totally different.
Yeah.
But if I look at the locals casinos, right, I see anywhere from like 65% to 78%.
That's gone up.
that's pretty high,
Like,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have guessed lower than that.
Yeah.
But in places that is a little bit more touristy.
Transient. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
Lower.
Yeah, that's lower. Yeah.
I just don't think you're ever going to, because there's always going to be that guy that's like, I don't want you to know who I am, even though you may or may not be listening to me on my phone right now. Like, I'm going to play. I don't need anything. I don't want to be identified. I don't want you to say hi. I just want to win money and leave.
Yeah.
And so that's the guy or girl that will be at the very end going, until you make me do it, I'm not doing it.
It's like, honey, we got a 5-night stay
Yeah.
at Graydon
So-
Casino. I thought you weren't gambling anymore. Is
That my name on it? That can't be my name. Yeah, like who's that there? But like you have, but no. So I think you'll get one of those tales where you run up to 100, but there's always going to be that subset that you won't get everybody until you make it everybody. That's
well,
fine.
this has been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been fun. It went fast.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Karen's like, I could go all day on this. Yeah.
Well,
We're not
I
Rogan,
encourage
unfortunately.
them, whoever is listening to the show, if you're from the
Yeah.
casino operation side, just forget about what companies offer, what technology and all that, right? What products. Just go understand what's happening with this technology in general. How is it impacting, how companies run their business? Just get educated about it. And then you will see a parallel between that and the problems that you face today in your current job or being a CEO of your own company on the casino side. And then you will figure out, who to talk to,
what
what
makes sense for
solutions.
you,
But
yeah.
I think the first thing is, people also, I feel like, should go a little bit outside gaming shows. Right?
Yeah.
And most of the information is received at the IGA show or the G2E.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if more and more casino operators actually go to retail conferences. Like, for example, if you look at a casino, it's all about, pricing, product, pricing, and placement.
Yep.
Right? If you go to a retail store, product, pricing,
Yeah,
and placement.
that's
How
right.
do I optimize revenue per square footage? So there's a big parallel between our industry, the casino floor, and the retail world, right? So it's good for folks to go, attend those conferences and see how technology is reshaping that.
Yeah.
And then I think, slowly more people will start understanding the impact it can have, and, the industry will go in a different
Yeah.
direction.
Good stuff.
So I guess instead of asking Kiran a gambling question, I'm gonna say, what would the tailored offer be to you from your system? Is Kiran a spot guy, or is Kiran want free play at the
flip it right on your
casino?
head.
What is Kiran's profile?
Give me more data.
He just gets up.
Karen's like, I don't know myself well enough.
just
to-
give me one more gig.
Yeah, one more. Yeah, that's it. How good is that? Well, appreciate you coming in, man.
Hey,
This has
thanks,
been
man.
fun.
Yeah,
Oh, and then
thank you.
fun fact: if you see Kiran running around, especially at G2E, you can scan his shirt, and it will take you right to the
Is that the QR
website,
code?
gaminganalytics.ai. That's where it takes you.
Yeah, sweet. Well, we'll see you all at the show.
He said people at the airport were scanning his shirt trying to